How to draw and paint an autumn picture. It's that time of year when a straightforward picture that covers the subjects of autumn, and maybe of Halloween too, is useful to have at hand ready for general greetings or holiday wishes. Of course, a dog will be involved. Also, autumn leaves and pumpkin pals. Materials include scrap paper, drawing paper, pencil, eraser, pen, maybe watercolour pencils and a brush of some sort. Most importantly, did I mention, plenty of scrap paper to try out lines, textures and squiggles in general before putting them onto your artwork. I shall alternate the pictures of my hand-drawn stages in red with the same thing in digital in black to make it clear. I am a scruffy hand drawer. Starting with the main subject, doggo, shapes are good as a base, circles and ovals. You can use squares and rectangles too if you prefer. I'm using circles. Draw in circles for the pumpkins too, so everything's in the right place. 3 circles of descending size for the dog's head, muzzle and nose. 2 circles for his eyes, one slightly lower than the other because his head's at a slant. 2 ovals for ears, again one lower than the other because of the tilt of his head. If easier for a first go, make the eyes level with each other and the ears. I've just realised that mine ended up level rather than slanted, but they started at an angle. Nothing is set in pen yet. And a smaller oval on its side for the paw that's showing. And there are the basic shapes that make up this picture. This is all still in pencil. I shall be scribbling in the space around the shapes in this tutorial the way I would scribble on my scrap paper. On scrap paper, I practice drawing fur. Using quick flicks of the pencil, I mess about until I'm happy that when I place the pencil on the paper, I can flick it up so that the end of that bit of fur is thinner than the end where it started. Using this flicking motion, the dog can be outlined a bit more on top of the basic shapes. To frame the bottom of the drawing, an irregular line suggests a bed of leaves. A bit of a scribble with some pointy bits suggests leaves for now. We will come back to the leaves. Thinking very carefully about the lines I want to keep and the ones I no longer need, I'm going to rub out the redundant ones now to make the drawing clearer to me. That's mainly the top of the paw and the line of the body going through the ears that aren't needed now, plus the bottom of the ovals where the ear is joined to the head, and the parts of the body I've outlined with fur. Pumpkins have a traditional look about them which involve ribs and a short stem. The ribs are curved and only a few are needed to suggest what they are. The onlooker's brain fills in the rest because the initial clue has been given. Filling them all in would make the drawing look a bit clunky. There is usually a short stem, which is where the pumpkin was joined to its plant. Start with a dinge in the top and draw in a zigzaggy line for where the stem joins the pumpkin. Add a slightly curved, hefty stem. The ribs, the curved lines, start at the stem and go round the body of the pumpkin to the bottom of it. Only draw in some, and in this case only draw some that come out from the stem at the top. These pumpkins have faces, so they'll have enough going on with eyes and mouth without worrying about ribs getting in the way. Pumpkin faces. 1. If you draw in the eyes so they slant up on the outside, it looks like an evil pumpkin. If you draw the eyes so they slant down, 2, it looks like a friendlier pumpkin, but then you need to be careful it doesn't look like a miserable pumpkin. The extra line in the bottom of the eyes, nose, etc. is to show the thickness of the pumpkin shell. If the smile has teeth, the pumpkin tends towards looking evil, but if not, not so much. Having decided whether I want a happy or an evil pumpkin, I can get rid of the other pumpkin lines I no longer need. And of course I've practiced all this on my scrap paper, so I know what I'm doing when it comes to drawing on my picture. Still in pencil though. I've decided I want my pumpkins to be particularly happy, so I've also put in the laugh line on either side of the corner of the mouth, see 3. I'm going to flick in more fur lines so I can get rid of the rest of the basic lines on Doggo. This means drawing in the shape for the eyes and nose and a smile. It's really taking shape now. Dog's eyes are round, with a round pupil within them and a round highlights within that. The highlights can be any shape, but while we're on circles, we'll go with them. Practice the eyes first, as above. The iris, that is the coloured bit in a dog's eye, often brown, is darker at the top than at the bottom. There is an eyelid shadowing the top, so it all makes sense. Most dogs look as if they're wearing mascara, so an added line around the eye, taking in a little tear shape in the corner of the eye, and you have a perfect dog's eye. Doggo's nose is an upside-down shed shape. Leaving 2 dark holes for him to breathe through, fill in the texture of his nose with squiggly scribbles. Leave a lighter area on the top of his nose for a highlight to show where the light catches it. Emphasize his smile and put a furry laugh line around the end of his mouth. I forgot his paw. Just a couple of lines to suggest it will do the trick. Leaves. Autumn leaves. This dog has been rolling in them. In this picture, he's just taking a break before he starts hurling himself around in them again. The thing about leaves is that if you draw a couple in some detail and only suggest the rest, then the onlooker's brain fills in the rest, much like pumpkin ribs and any number of other things. The brain knows what is usually there when they look at something. So if you give it clues, it will fill in the picture. Here are 2 examples of pictures where a couple of leaves have been drawn in and the rest only suggested. Choose your leaves. Look them up online to see the vast numbers of different leaves there are. Draw the shape. Draw in the main vein that goes through the centre of the leaf. Maybe a smaller vein or 2. Draw in the stalk where it was attached to its twig. This is on scrap paper, of course. Draw some leaves lying flat on the ground. Overlap some. Draw in some edges of leaves to show they're lying on the ground, but mainly covered by other leaves or a dog or a pumpkin. For leaves flying through the air, draw them at different angles and positions and different sizes. Use curved lines to show the path of the leaf through the air. It adds movement to the picture. With anything that has more than one thing the same, for example leaves, make sure to draw them different sizes and from different aspects and place them irregularly to each other so they look more natural. So, above is the picture I've actually drawn onto my final proper paper. As I say, I'm a scruffy drawer. I've gone over the lines I want to keep in pen and then erased all the pencil. This involved looking at every part of the picture as I went so that I could correct anything I spotted as I went along. Don't forget, before using an eraser, always rub it onto scrap paper to get any grubbiness off it, so that it's not transferred to the picture. While using pen over pencil, I realised the face on the left-hand squash was too low, so I raised its stem to make more room for its face to move up the pumpkin. For this picture, I thought I'd use watercolour pencils. It could be finished off just with pencil, but autumn colours are so attractive and almost make the picture by themselves. I'll put links below for the pencils and the pen brush I used. Watercolour pencils are very convenient when there isn't the space or time to get out all one's watercolour paraphernalia, especially when used with a brush pen. I'm doing all this on my desk in the small amount of space in front of my computer keyboard so that I can write about it as I draw it. I've lightly covered in the whole picture except for leaving a bit of white fur on Doggo and a little on a pumpkin for a highlight. Lightly colour. More can always be put on, but it's more difficult to take it off. In fact, it's a good idea to, yes, the old scrap paper routine again. Try the colour on scrap paper first, see above. On the left of each colour is the dry watercolour pencil colouring. On the right is the same colour that has had a little water painted on to smooth it out. Bear in mind the final result will be different if you try it on smooth paper and then put it on a rougher surface, like for example watercolour paper. When using a brush pen, I do everything with scrap paper at hand. Every time I use the brush pen, I then dab it onto the scrap paper to clean it of the previous colour before using it on the next bit. I don't know if the brush pen above is the one I've got, but the one I've got is so old there are no identifying marks on it. I've gone over the finished picture with the ink pen to put in a little more fur and to give more emphasis to the pupils of the eye. And I put in 3 more little leaves whirling around. Oh yes, and I've signed it. Don't forget to sign your masterpiece. Happy autumn.